I hope everyone is doing well today. I am Mr. Ish. Thank you for joining me. In this video, we will try to understand how this is working and how can you go about understanding what we see over here. Arctan of an arctan, an infinite number of iterations of arctan. Eventually, we have arctan of infinity. So if you think about it, with this type of function, you're working from the inside and towards the outside. So essentially what you're really looking at when you look at that inner function is y is equal to arctan infinity. That means if you push the arctan on the other side, tan of y was equal to infinity. There was a specific angle. If you did the tangent of it, you would get infinity. You can do this on your calculator quite easily. If you put your calculator on the RAD mode and you can do a large number which can simulate like an infinity and do inverse tan, well, you get 1.57. You know over here y is equal to pi over 2. From here you're getting a pi over 2. Now what will happen is in the next step of this iterative process, pi over 2 has become the input for your next part. Here then you would be looking with regards to this or the immediately preceding arctan function. You would have y is equal to arctan pi over 2, and then you push it on the other side, you're looking at tan of y is equal to pi over 2. You're looking for a certain input here for which the tangent of that would have given you pi over 2. I have the pi over 2. You can do inverse and you'll get 1.00, which I'm writing here, y is equal to 1.0039. What you're seeing that in each of these successive steps, the computation is giving you the input of the next. Essentially what you will see is that these values, first one being pi over 2, then the next one 0.0039, essentially the first one was up to infinity, pi over 2, that these will get smaller and smaller until that point where you will arrive at 0. The answer of this entire would be equal to a 0. And now we will understand it by means of graph. Think about everything as an interplay of an input and an output. When you look at the arctan graph, you have a pi over 2 horizontal asymptote. You also have a minus pi over 2. If that right there was a minus infinity, then you'd be evaluating it from the left side and you would eventually end up at 0. Here we're looking at a positive infinity, so you're working your way from the right towards 0. But the graph of a arctan looks something like this. Here we're just focusing on a positive infinity. Anyhow, when you do the first part, arctan infinity, you're looking at a value would have given you a pi over 2, and you know that would have been in infinity. Arctan of infinity would give you a pi over 2 because your function is approaching that value. Then what happens is you're taking this output pi over 2 and you're examining it over here, pi over 2, and nothing here is drawn to scale. Now you're examining it and looking at across. What is this value over here? Well, then that value would have been 1.0039. Then you bring in that 1.0039 over here and then you're putting it here and then looking across whatever that value was, and you can figure it out on your calculator. Just put this and do inverse tan of it. You would have a value 0.787. Then that 0.787 you're looking at over here and then you're evaluating it across whatever that is, that becomes the input. You look across, that output becomes the input for the next round. So you're doing an iterative procedure. You're slowly working your way from here all the way to the end where essentially everything will become a 0. In terms of this entire iteration, your end result will be a 0. And each step, if you were to graph it, you'll notice your horizontal asymptotes are getting smaller. In the first instance, you were seeing a horizontal asymptote y equals plus and minus pi over 2. If you were to graph at the next step, you'll notice that the horizontal asymptotes have moved down. Instead of y is equal to plus and minus pi over 2, there would have been y is equal to this 1.0039 and y is equal to minus 1.0039. Then in the next round, if you were to graph it, your new horizontal asymptote would have been this, y is equal to 0.787, then y is equal to minus 0.787. Essentially, after an infinite number of these iterative procedures, you'll notice that the horizontal asymptote will just be y equals 0 and your function is squeezed right there. Your arctan has become squeezed over here. Hence, everything with regards to the answer of this iterative procedure, an infinite number of steps would be 0. Your horizontal asymptotes are slowly squeezing everything down as you're going through each of the steps. Essentially, the upper and the lower horizontal asymptote becomes your x-axis, y equals 0. The output of that function, this entire function, becomes y equals 0, or you can just say 0. And that right there is the end of this video. Thank you. Have a good day.